Civilization games have been very successful in the last couple of years, and there is a large range of them out there at very different levels of complexity and difficulty. But it's hard sometimes, I find, to find something which is of middle complexity. You have very simple games, those civilization games that last 10 minutes, you have Roll Through the Ages, which is fun but is also very simple, very linear. And then you have the monsters, those super complex civilization games that almost take longer to play than it would take you to build the actual civilization that is portrayed in the game. But this year I was at Origins Game Fair 2015 and I saw a game being played, and the game was Nations, the dice game. And from just a quick look that I had, it did look like something that could be a civilization game that would have enough meat to keep me interested. It wouldn't just be a filler, but at the same time actually not so complicated, not so overburdened by rules and complexities that probably will never hit the table. So I sat down, I played the game, and well, let's not get too much ahead, let's not get too many spoilers about the conclusions. Nations, the dice game, is a game that I played and I'm reviewing here. It is a game where each player plays the role of a civilization, starting from ancient times, developing technology, culture, going to war, etc., etc. All of the staples of civilization games. Here handled through dice, like you have in Roll Through the Ages, but also tiles and tokens. Let me show you how the game works. Each player starts the game with a set of 5 resource dice. They're white and they're the most basic dice available in the game. Each player also has 2 tokens, one for rerolls and one that is worth a gold. And there is a player aid where you place the stuff that you collect. This is the area where you collect the stuff that you collect. The game is played in 4 ages, 4 eras. At the beginning of each age, you shuffle a corresponding set of tiles and you place them randomly on this board here, face up, so that the tiles representing the available resources are visible. As for those resources and for the tiles, here on the left of each tile you have the type of currency you need to pay to acquire the tile, which can be gold or swords, war. And the amount that you need to pay depends on the row in which the tile is. This car would cost 1 gold, this one would cost 2 golds, and that one out there would cost 3 golds because it's in the ×3 row. Also, some large buildings, wonders, require rock, stone to build them, so you can pay for them, but you haven't built them yet. Later you will need to pay the corresponding amount of stone. And at the bottom of the tile, you have an icon indicating the advantage that you get, which may be an extra token, a better die, things like that. On the right side of the tokens, not all of them, but some of them, you have the amount of victory points that the tile is worth. So at the beginning of the turn, or of the age, you simply roll all of your dice and you look at the results. That's simple. Then during your turn, you can reroll dice using reroll effects, for example from tokens that you may have, or you may spend your resources to buy stuff, or if you acquired wonder earlier, then you can spend the stone to actually build it. Now, to spend your dice to buy resources is pretty intuitive. With a single sword, I would be able to buy that resource there. Or with a single coin, I would be able to buy an aqueduct. Interesting enough, when you get something that gives you a new die, you put it on your board, replacing one of these old slots. And this is the point, replacing. You do not just add the new die to your pool. You replace the one that you covered with the one that is now visible. So now this is my pool of dice, 4 white ones and a blue one. Maybe later I'll acquire this one. Now this is my pool of dice. And colored dice have different resources which are not easy to find on the other dice, and especially they have better amounts of resources. They have higher numbers of resources. So you spend your dice performing stuff. I want to buy this. Da, 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 da. I'm just going to be randomly to give you a sense of how you buy tiles. So as I said, you can buy a wonder and you put it here for now, when you actually can produce the amount of stone that you need to build that. For example, using icons from dice, then you actually build it, you remove it from there, and you place it on the side where you will score it, and they are worth good amounts of points. You may have advisors, which give you several benefits. For example, Sun Tzu allows you to reroll dice. So acquire stuff, spend the tokens and dice to get more tokens and better dice. Repeat the process until the end of the age. What happens at the end of the age? Well, let's look at the player rate that comes with the game. When everybody has passed, then you have reached the end of the age, and you have several phases. First, you produce and you score books. This is when you use book icons to produce books, and there is a track here to keep a record of the number of books that each player has produced. To score books, you score a number of points which is equal to the number of players that are behind you. So for example, in a 4-player game, if I have more books than anybody and there are 3 players behind me, I score 3 points because there are 3 players behind me on this track. So it can be good, especially if one player decides to specialize in bookmaking. Famine. Okay, for each turn for each age there is a tile available from a deck of 3. There is a deck of 3 for age 1, age 2, 3, and 4. And only one of these is used in each age, each game. You reveal it, and when it is revealed, during the famine phase, players can spend food icons or tokens to score victory points. For example, basically the tile tells me how much is the cost of those victory points for this round. In this game, for age 1, we use this tile, then in the famine phase I can use a food for a victory point. But if we had drawn this tile, then it would take me 2 foods for a victory point. Interesting enough, differently from other games, you don't get a penalty if you don't feed your people during the famine. That is, if you have the icons, you produce victory points, you score victory points, but you don't lose anything if you do not have food during the famine. Thematic is a little strange, but maybe just because I'm thinking about the games in which you definitely do have to face penalties for not feeding your people. Player order, this is when you determine player order for the next turn based on the number of unused sword icons. And finally, war, which works exactly like famine, but you look at the bottom half of the tile that has been drawn for this age, and you use swords. You use sword icons, and again, maybe 2 for 1 for 1, 1 for 1, or 2 for 1. Later ages have more expensive, more severe wars and famines. That means it will take you more icons to be able to score points, but also the amount of points that you score is pretty good. Simple enough, you play through 4 ages. At the end of the 4th age, you total all the victory points coming from tiles, wonders, books, anything that you have, and at that point the player with the highest score is the winner of the game. So I'm pretty glad that, yes, I do think that I found a middle complexity civilization game that definitely has a civilization feel to it, is more than a filler, and yet it is still a game that can see some time on the table. It won't be one of those games that are just too scary, impossible to teach, take too long to play, etc., etc. The game really does not take too long, but it has enough nuances, enough elements, enough factors to be interesting, to satisfy your desire for strategy, for long or middle term strategy, and for quote-unquote tactical reaction. And this is something that you have, this latter aspect, because of the dice. It's random, there is that random element, so you have to react to what you get with your die roll. It's a luck element, but everybody's potentially subjected to the same amount of luck in the game. After a while, if your pool of dice starts being better, it is not just because of luck, but it is also because you use your resources well in the previous couple of turns, of segments. So there is luck, yes, but also you have all of these tokens that are granted to you by the tiles, and those tokens give you extra actions, extra resources, rerolls. So it actually found that probably the title would be less catchy, but you should maybe the game should be called Nations, the Dice and Tokens Game, because really I had the sense that they had two, after a couple of purchases of the tiles that I've acquired, I have two pools of resources that I am equally working with. The title would be less elegant, but probably would describe the fact that dice are only one of the elements that give you resources. There's only one of the sources of currency that you use to invest in increasingly better resources, hoping to get increasingly higher amounts of victory points. So definitely you have enough of the resources and decisions around the dice that will allow you some flexibility, will allow you to implement different strategies even if your initial die roll wasn't all that good. And which is good. All of these things are good. The fact that you have those options, and I also like the fact like in different civilization games, you can choose to specialize your civilization in one thing or the other. You can be a civilization of illiterate brutes that just attack everybody, just like me, Roman, smash, and that's it. Or you can be a very sophisticated philosophical society, and you still score points. Just try not to get too close to the bad people. Even though here it's not like in Seven Wonders where the civilizations can actually attack each other. It's more like thematically you're going to be different from the others, which also means that from game to game there will be different paths, different branching options, and you'll be able to develop your civilization in different ways based on the die rolls that you get and the order in which the other players will acquire the resources and the selections that they will make. Yes, there's also this element of competition for a very limited amount of resources. Heck, now I would like to take a certain action, but the resources that are cheap are gonna be sold out pretty soon, so maybe I should do that before. But then maybe there are two almost equally inexpensive options, and I know that if I take one, the other one is not gonna be available for purchase next turn. So there is that aspect of interaction, which is not direct, but it is the kind of indirect interaction that comes from trying to budget into your strategy the objectives of the opponents and try to figure out ways to get in the way of their objectives while you're also pursuing your own ones. So I enjoyed it. I'm not particularly good at it, but I enjoy playing. I'm not that good at civilization games. It's not the type of game that I play the most often. But even if I lose, I still have fun while I play the game, so that is really what's important here. And Nations, the dice game, is a game that I'm happy to have in my collection because definitely it is a notch above Roll Through the Ages. It is a full game. It is a full game. You sit down, maybe you play 2 games in a row, and almost all of your game night will be fulfilled. Probably maybe 2 or 3 games. In any case, it is a true game. It is not a filler. The experience is rewarding and fulfilling. So it is a true game without being overburdening, without being too complex and exhausting to play and to learn. So, Nation, the dice games, the missing link between Through the Ages and the bigger civilization games, definitely it has a role, definitely has a place in the offers that the market is presenting us with these days when it comes to civilization games, and also it definitely can have a place in the collection of a board gamer, especially one that is interested in civilization games.